Too many people only think about simplifying once life has already gotten too heavy, like when the house gets messy, or work piles up, or there's just too much going on. It becomes this little reset button. You do a quick round of decluttering, you cut back on a few things, and then you move on until the next wave of stress comes. I've always tried to approach simplifying a bit differently. It's not something I pick up when I am stressed and then drop again when life feels easier. For me, deciding to simplify and become a minimalist wasn't just a small lifestyle tweak. It was a choice that shaped everything after. I see it as a way of living I want to carry through my whole life. Not a phase, not a project I will one day complete, but the foundation underneath everything else. That's why I want to share in this video why I chose a simpler life and why I never went back to the old way, because the old way, the normal path, didn't actually make sense to me. You buy things you think you need, forget about them, chase the next version, and then repeat the cycle again and again. And the strange thing is, even when you do all the things that should make you happy, it often doesn't feel enough. As I entered my 20s almost 10 years ago now, I realized the usual path wasn't going to give me the kind of life I actually wanted. I didn't want to spend decades chasing milestones and upgrades that would leave me feeling just as restless as before. That's one reason I chose to simplify. I didn't want to wait until life forced me into it. I wanted to build habits before I needed them, to create systems that would support me long term, not just in the middle of a crisis, because the truth is, you never know what might happen, and that's actually where all this really begins. Part 2. Why living lighter matters. Life has a way of surprising us. Jobs change, health shifts, relationships move in new directions, and usually it's the things we didn't see coming that shape us the most. We cannot really control the world around us, but we can control how much weight we are carrying when change comes, when something happens. And that's one of the biggest reasons I have chosen to live more simply. When you live with fewer commitments and less stuff to manage, there's automatically more room to adjust when life doesn't go to plan. If you lose your job, a simpler lifestyle means your expenses are lighter and you can adapt quicker. It's much easier. If you go through a physical or mental health challenge, you are not also buried under clutter or endless obligations. You have space to focus on what actually matters in that moment. I sometimes think of it like carrying a heavy backpack every day. When the weather is good, maybe you don't notice it so much, but when the storm hits, all that extra weight makes it harder to keep moving. Simplicity is choosing to travel lighter, so when challenges come, not if, but when, you can handle them instead of falling apart. And that brings peace of mind, because you trust yourself to handle the ups and downs. It shifts your focus from trying to control everything to being ready to adapt to anything. That really gives a sense of freedom. And the beautiful thing is that this balance compounds over time. Each choice to simplify now makes you a little more adaptable later. Each layer of weight you remove gives you more space to handle the unknown. And that is where the real benefits of simplicity starts to show. Part 3. The payoff of living with less. The real magic of minimalism and simplicity isn't what happens on day one. It's what happens when those small choices build up over years. At first, you notice the surface changes, like more space at home, less stress about cleaning, maybe even a lighter room when you walk into it, but the deeper benefits show up later. They grow quietly in the background as you are living your life. It's almost like compound interest in investing. So small steps or things that keep stacking until they completely change your life. Less stuff now means less maintenance in the future. Fewer costs, fewer repairs, fewer weekends lost to organizing or managing things you don't even care about anymore. Less debt now means more freedom later, more options, more time, less pressure. Every choice to say no to excess is also a yes to more space, more energy, more freedom. And that is what I love about this lifestyle. Instead of just solving problems later, you remove the root cause before it grows. And that is why it actually gets easier the longer you stay with it, the longer you stay with this lifestyle. I sometimes imagine the version of me who never simplified, who just stayed on the usual path of more, let's say, more stuff, more debt, more pressure, always trying to keep up. There was less space to breathe and always this feeling that I am behind even while I'm actually already trying to run faster and faster. I would probably be grinding now to make enough money to buy things that might impress people, but deep down never feeling it was enough. I would be someone who owns a lot but doesn't really have much, if that makes sense. And that's the scary part. I don't think I would even notice it happening because I'd be just telling myself that, yeah, this is normal. This is how everyone is around me. Every time I picture that path, I feel grateful I stepped off it early. A big shift for me came actually from a question in a book called The One Thing by Gary Keller. And the question was, what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? That question really stuck with me, and it has shaped so many of the choices I have made since. For example, decluttering my wardrobe. On the surface, it looked like a small step, but suddenly mornings became easier, laundry became lighter, and I stopped wasting time choosing outfits. That one change simplified 3 other areas of my life. Or choosing YouTube as my main platform to make these videos. I could have split my attention across Instagram, a podcast, TikTok, and so on, as many people suggested back then when I was starting out, but committing to one main focus let me go deeper, do it better, and remove the stress of trying to keep up everywhere at once. Another one was not buying into the whole dream car idea that most people my age have or had at least. For some people that's an important milestone. For me, it would have meant high costs, expensive repairs, and constant pressure to match that thing, that car, with other expensive things. Saying no to that one choice removed dozens of future problems. That's the power of simplicity when you look at it over time. One choice makes 10 other things easier. One decision removes 100 tiny decisions later. But simplicity is not only about removing problems. It also changes the pace of life itself. Part 4. Seasons instead of speed. Modern life pushes us to live fast, rushing through days, rushing through seasons, always focused on what is next. But simplicity lets you slow down enough to feel the cycles again. Long summer evenings that don't need to be filled with plans. Autumn that feels like a natural reset. Winter as a time for rest, not pressure. When you live simply, life feels less like a constant race forward and more like a rhythm. Lately I've been using this season, so autumn, as motivation to update something important to me, my course Simple Life Blueprint. I added some new lessons, improved the exercises, and made the whole flow easier to follow. It's a deeper and more practical guide to simplifying life beyond what I share here on YouTube, and designed to give you direction and the systems to make real change in your life. If you would like to use this autumn to create more space and calm, the course is 50% off for the next 2 weeks. You will find the link to it below in the description. Part 5. The deeper side of simple living. So the truth is, this is about more than just stuff. If you stop at that, you can have a tidy space and still feel overwhelmed. Your shelves might look clean, but if your calendar is packed and your mind never rests. The clutter is still there, just in a different form. For me, mental clutter has actually been the heavier kind. Overthinking, worrying, endless mental to-do lists. These are harder to escape than a messy shelf because they follow you absolutely everywhere. Letting go of mental clutter is then about creating space to think clearly. For me, that has meant having clear routines so small tasks don't turn into constant decisions. Sometimes it's been as simple as closing the laptop earlier, even when part of me felt like I should keep pushing more. And also I have noticed how much of my stress wasn't even real many times. It was just imaginary deadlines I had created in my own head. And there's another layer here too. A simple life is about shifting how you see success and what is enough. If your values are not clear, you'll always drift back into buying things or filling your schedule to feel like you are doing well in life. That's why values make all the difference. Choosing things like freedom, presence, or calm as your measure of success changes how you move through life and the choices that you make. You stop asking, do I want this thing? And instead ask, does this fit the kind of life I want? Part 6. The invisible scoreboard. Finally, simplicity stops being about what you own and starts being about who you are. It's not about being someone with fewer things. It's about becoming someone who has space to breathe, to rest, to focus, to actually live. And once you create that space, then the real question becomes, what do you want to fill it with? For me, simplifying is not about pride in how little I have or own or spend. It's peace in knowing I don't need more. It's a sense that I am living on my own terms. I've realized I don't need the usual wins to feel like I'm doing well. And I have stopped competing on income or achievements. My scoreboard these days is very much invisible to most people, but it's much more meaningful to me. My life actually feels like mine. And that's what makes this way of living something I never wanted to step away from. It is not a phase or a fix, it's a foundation, a way of life that supports me in every season, not just when things are hard, but also when things are good. Here's a story to take with you today. It is called The Other Side. One day, a young Buddhist on his journey home came to the banks of a wide river. Staring hopelessly at the great obstacle in front of him, he pondered for hours on just how to cross such a wide barrier. Just as he was about to give up his pursuit to continue his journey, he saw a great teacher on the other side of the river. The young Buddhist yells over to the teacher, "O wise one, can you tell me how to get to the other side of this river?" The teacher ponders for a moment, looks up and down the river, and yells back, "My son, you are on the other side." Thank you so much for watching. Check out Simple Life Blueprint using the link in the description. And remember to stay kind and meaningful in your own beautiful journey. See you in the next one.